Please, I can't sleep.
It's time to listen to Courtney at last on the Ramblings of an Insomniac podcast.
Hello, welcome to episode 45. I am getting up there, 45. Woohoo! Welcome to episode 45 of the Ramblings of an Insomniac. I am still Courtney Perry, and I'm still stuffing my face because, that's apparently what I do now. I mean, I was working out. I am still. But I fully believe that if you do things in moderation, really, it's not a big deal. You should allow yourself to have some like a cheat day. But I don't believe in like diets, because I think that diets, whenever you put that word on it, it immediately makes people go, ugh. And it just puts all this pressure. So I am more about, I'm not saying eat what you want, like just, constantly shovel food in your face. But again, if you want something that sounds good and it maybe isn't the best for you, as long as you don't sit around all day and do nothing, if you're doing something that is physical and you can work it off, then do it. Don't you guys love how I just am like, oh, episode 45, Ramblings of an Insomniac, and then I just automatically just start babbling on about stuff like immediately. Like no segue into something, no pause for a minute and then casually go into my podcast. No, I'm like, hello, Ramblings of an Insomniac, episode 45, and boom, right into talking about shit. I am learning some things, and then I'm like that episode of Married with Children, and I'll never forget this episode. It cracks me up that her brother is trying to teach her stuff, and she's not really retaining a lot of information. And then finally she starts retaining information, but every time her brother gives her a new piece of information, then she loses a piece. So every time she gains a piece of knowledge, she also loses a piece of knowledge. That's where I feel like I'm at in my life right now. I feel like every time I gain a little piece of knowledge, or every time I learn something about this podcast and like what to do and what not to do, then I'm like, oh yeah, don't do that next time because that really sucked. And then I won't do that, but then I'll do something else that makes it worse or just as bad. Like right now I'm holding the phone and holding the speaker thing, and I probably should put it down. We're going to put it down. Here we go. Okay. So this is episode 45 of the Ramblings of an Insomniac. Because I took 2 weeks off, I figured I would kind of just completely bombard you guys, just completely harass you and throw 100 episodes at you at once, apparently. And then I'll shy away again, and I'll be like, oh, did you guys miss me? Did you miss me? Did you miss me? Here you go, here you go. And then I'm like, no. And then I tease a little bit. And then I'm like that, that tease that I'm like, now I'm going to pull it back. And now you guys can't listen for a while so that you'll miss me. And then you'll be like, where the heck did Courtney go? Where is she? I miss the Ramblings of an Insomniac. I didn't think I liked it a whole lot. But now that she's not putting out podcasts all the time, I want to listen to her. See, that's what I'm doing, really. It's not. I wish, if that works, then hey. But that's not what I'm doing. Honestly, I get sidetracked by life, really. I get sidetracked by life. Today, my poor senior dog that I rescued in May, she's an 8-year-old UGLY. Obviously she doesn't even know what that word means. I don't know why I'm spelling it. It's not like she's like, oh, you called me ugly? What? But for some reason I feel like she knows what that word means, and I don't want to hurt her feelings. But she's one of those so UGLY dogs that she's cute, but nobody wanted her because she's 8, which isn't even that old. And she is a pug Chihuahua beagle mix. And what's hilarious is her ass end from like her back legs toward her tail looks like a pug. She's got the curled up tail. It like curls up and everything. And then she has the coloring of a beagle. Like she's exactly the color of a beagle. She's got that fawn color and then the black and some white. And then her, like the middle part of her body kind of looks like beagle. It's more barrel chested, a little more, stocky and stout. And then her face looks totally like a Chihuahua. And so nobody wanted her because she's older and she has a lot of quirks. She has a lot of quirks. She's a Houdini. She's an escape artist. She seems to know how to get out of everything. And when she does get out, she just immediately wants to take off. She's like, woo. I think that's the beagle in her. She starts sniffing. I've noticed this about her. When she starts sniffing, any breed of dog that has a beagle or a hound mix in them, any breed of dog that has a hound mix, once their nose gets involved, they're not going to listen. Their ears turn off, their nose turns on, they have their heads to the ground, and they are on a mission, and they are not going to stop. And then all of a sudden, they're like, 3 miles away from home, and they are like, oh, they've been tracking something with their nose, and all of a sudden they look up, and they're like, how the hell did I get here? They're like, well, crap. I'm in a pickle. I'm not home anymore. So she does that. She likes to get out. She's older, and then I just brought her back from the vet because she had dental work done, and the poor girl had to have all but 3 of her teeth removed. I've only had her since the end of May. It is now the beginning of October, and they already had this appointment made for her because her teeth were really bad. So she only has 3 teeth left. She had to have all the rest of her teeth pulled out, the poor girl. So she is sleeping right now. Poor little thing. It's so funny because whenever I see an animal that I feel like is suffering or hurting or whatever, I just can't handle it. I cannot watch a movie that has an animal, even if the animal doesn't die. Like I think I've said this before, I can't watch Homeward Bound. None of the animals die in Homeward Bound. None of them die. But I can't stand the fact that they think that their owners left them. It breaks my heart. I can't handle it. There are so many movies I will not watch. Like, God damn it, Marley and Me, that movie, that kills me. I watched it one time, barely got through it, bawled my eyeballs out, and I will never watch it again. No way, especially knowing that it's based on a true story. What the hell? No, thank you. I can't watch things that have animals that die or get hurt or even look like they're... No. Mm-mm. And those goddamn ASPCA commercials, I mean, that Sarah McLachlan song, I cannot hear that song. If I ever hear that song, it came on the radio one day, and I thought it was going to be for the ASPCA commercial. And I kind of feel bad for Sarah McLachlan because now McLachlan? Anyway, I feel bad in a way. I know she's the one that she knows that her song is being used for those commercials, but I feel like, wow, kind of ruined the song because, I mean, not that it was a lighthearted, happy song anyways. It was already a depressing, sad song. But now it's depressing and sad because I can't watch that commercial. The minute that song comes on, if I'm like not looking at the TV and I even hear the very beginning of it, I'm like, nope, no. And I turn it off because how the hell can any person watch that? And I realize that's their entire point. Their entire point is to pull at your heartstrings, to tug at those heartstrings, and it works every time. I would adopt every effing animal on earth if it needed a home. And, I have 4 dogs and 8 effing cats right now because of that. But I can't because you have to be able to afford the vet bills. You have to be able to feed them. You have to be able to get their vaccinations. You have to be able to make sure that they are well cared for. I'm not saying that means you have to buy them expensive food. I'm not saying that means you have to buy them expensive things because they don't need expensive things. I just mean you do have to be able to buy food for them. You do have to be able to, get them their vaccinations. And in her case, thankfully, I was very fortunate because the senior dog rescue that I adopted her from had already made the appointment for her to have her teeth removed. That would have cost me probably like $2,500 because she had all but three, probably in that range, anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000. US dollars. I don't know what that is in all the other countries. But yeah, so then that got me thinking of this whole rescue thing and that I really do want to do like a dog rescue. But then I think I would get too attached to the dogs. I think I would get too attached. But then I'm also like, yeah, but if I knew they were going to a good home and a home that I trusted, then I'd be happy. Beer break, one moment. Okay, sorry guys. I've been having one beer a night lately. I'm addicted to these Stella Arturo. I don't know. I'm slaughtering that name. I'm sorry, Stella Arturo. Anyway, I've been kind of addicted to those lately. So I started thinking of that and how songs, when I started thinking about the fact that the Sarah McLachlan song, reminds me of the ASPCA commercials, and how songs are interesting. How you can hear a song and it can immediately remind you of a time in your life, or it can remind you of a person, or it can remind you of, or it can get you pumped up for the day as to where you want to go work out, or you want to get some things done around your house. And how music is pretty awesome that way, how it can transport you through time and have you think of times in your life that either you miss or that made you sad or, whatever it is. How music can remind you of a person, and different songs can remind you of just different things, and how that's kind of magical that we have that. I don't know if anybody, it always is fascinating to me that there are religions out there that don't believe in dancing. Like I used to watch that show, 19 Kids and Counting, like the Duggards. And I know that and I'm not knocking on their religion. I'm not knocking their religion at all. I'm just saying it's interesting that I don't know if it's they don't believe in dance or what it is, because I know they play instruments. I know they play like the violin and the piano and stuff. So it's not that they don't believe in music. But I always find it interesting if it's a religion, because I always feel like you're rejoicing. If you are a Christian person and you are listening to music, I mean, I know Christians are not against music, but I'm just saying, I feel like religion, out of all the things, out of all the times you should be dancing, it's when you are praising whatever your idea of God is. I feel like rejoicing is part of celebrating, God, if it's God you believe in. So I've never understood why dancing, I get if you're, not twerking, like you probably shouldn't be Miley Cyrus and be, in church, like twerking with your pastor. I get that. Okay. Twerking, take that off the table. Probably shouldn't be doing that. But, throwing your hands up and rejoicing. And then that started me thinking, I think it's funny because I love gospel music. Always have. Love gospel music. There's something about it. And I don't consider myself a religious person. Again, I'm not at all saying anything against anyone that is religious at all. I really am not. I firmly believe you should believe what you want to believe. I'm just not the most religious person. But oddly, I grew up, before I moved to Seaside, going to church every Sunday. I've been to so many different types of churches. I've been to Mormon churches. I've been to a Jehovah's Witness church. I have been to an Assembly of God. I've been to Baptist church. I've been to Catholic church. I've been to Christian churches. And I always feel like if it were like Sister Act, if I went to a church that was in one of those beautiful cathedrals and then they also like jammed out and sang, I am all about like raising my hands up and praising praising the Lord that I don't even necessarily believe in, but I'm like, yes, Jesus. Jesus, yes. Give me some Jesus. I just love it. Like having your hands up and just like having a tambourine and singing. That's amazing. I would go to church every freaking day if it was pretty much like a choir concert. I just love a gospel choir. I love gospel music. It just moves me. And so it's interesting how I'm not religious, but I just watched Father Stew yesterday, and it's based on a real person. And Mark Wahlberg is the one that plays Father Stew. And the way that Father Stew, he was a father, he was Catholic, and it's funny because if I would go to church all day if I had someone like Father Stew running the sermon. I don't know what the terms are. if Father Stew were up there and leading the sermon and up there every Sunday talking, I don't like people that are preaching. I have a hard time listening to anybody preaching. Whether it's no matter who it is, I don't want to be preached to. I don't want to be talked to. I want people just to be up there sharing a story, telling a story. Then I will engage. But I tune out. And I used to go to church every Sunday, different types of church, like I said. And I went to a particular church, I won't say which, and they were speaking in tongue, rolling around on the floor, speaking in tongue, telling me to repent. And I was very young. I was 10 at the time. And that was just a lot. And they were talking about the sign of the devil, and it was just very intense and scary. And I'm like, I don't want to be feeling scared. I don't want to feel tense. If I'm going to go to church, I want to be happy. I want to feel inspired. I don't want to feel like I'm a horrible human being yelled at and telling to repent. But again, to each his own. That's just not for me personally. But man, if it were like Sister Act, I'd be in church all day. Or if it were, Father Stew with some Sister Act, oh my God, best combo ever. So yeah, I started thinking about that and music and religion and how, music dates back to, well, I don't know when. Honestly, I don't have a statistic, but a long time. Even if you count it as just things like beating sticks on a rock and making a sound and making a beat, but I've never understood religions that are against dancing. And I like I said, I'm not knocking it. I'm just intrigued. I want to know why. I want to know why. Like, why is it that you're, again, I get not, twerking. I get that. I get not stripping. Okay. But like, why not? What is up with the dancing thing? I would like to know. And then I also find it interesting that there are religions that say it's okay to drink. And there are other religions like I was married when I was only 20, and I married my then high school sweetheart. And Pastor Paul, Pastor Paul, he was a Lutheran pastor. And I'll never forget this. He's the one that married us. And but the day before, we had like a shindig. The day before, we had a little wedding party. And the pastor that was going to marry us came out to the house. We invited him out there, and he had wine. And I was like, what? You can't have wine? Like, does God know you're doing this? Like, have you talked to God? Well, I guess he sees you, so he'll know. And he's like, no, you can, Lutheran pastors can have wine. And I'm like, what? But it's interesting because, I know there are religions that I don't believe that the Jewish faith that you can drink. I don't believe so. Again, to be honest, don't know a ton about the different religions. So I should probably know what I'm saying before I open my face. But I just find that stuff fascinating. Again, speaking of beer, I'm going to have a sip. Hang on. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, okay, and also on that note, so as I've shared before, my entire, my mom's side of the family, that's not true. A lot of people, I'll say that, Many people on both sides of my family struggled with addiction in one form or another, whether it was alcohol or drugs. My real biological father died on my birthday, my 9th birthday, as I've mentioned, because he had a little cocaine problem and had a little too much and had a heart attack. And my stepfather struggled with alcoholism. My mom struggled with alcoholism. And some of my aunts on my mom's side struggled with alcohol. And some of my cousins on my mom's side struggled with some drugs. The Jones side of my family, my dad's side of the family, with the exception of my biological father, with that exception, actually did nothing. They were very straight-laced people. But it's interesting to me, alcohol, because I grew up in an environment that was pretty unhealthy, especially before I moved to Seaside. When I was living in Vancouver, my life was I just always felt like I was living in a war zone. I had to make sure my parents would pass out with cigarettes in their mouth or cigarettes in their hand all the time. So I never felt like I could go to sleep because I always had to wake up so I could make sure that the cigarettes were out so the house wasn't, burnt down. They would come home and fight so bad that they would throw things at each other and punch each other, and cops were over all the time. Or they wouldn't come home at all, and I would be a younger kid by myself, like fixing my own dinner and trying to learn how to do stuff on my own. And plus I'm an only child, so with the exception of 2 step siblings, but that's a whole other podcast that I'm not going to get into. But for now, my point just being that alcohol has been something, a pretty big factor in my life. And that's not to say that I did not do some drinking. I definitely have done some drinking in my day, but oddly, I've never liked to get drunk. My goal was never to get drunk. I was never one of those people that's like, let's do shots. No, I never understood the point. I'm like, why? I want to enjoy myself. If I'm going to have something to drink, I want to taste it. I want to, especially with how expensive alcohol is now. Jesus, one drink, if you're having hard alcohol, one drink is like anywhere from $7 to $9 for a hard alcohol beverage. And for beer, cheap beer now is like $3, and then expensive beer is like $6. It's insane. So I want to taste it. I want to enjoy it. I annoy people with how long it takes me to drink anything, actually. Anything, whether it's alcohol or not, it takes me forever to drink something. But I've always been more of a sipper. I think things in a martini glass are sexy, with the exception of I can't stand martinis. But I like lemon drops, and lemon drops apparently are supposed to come in a shot glass, but the way that most bartenders make them now are in a martini glass. And I just think they're sexy, and there's something about it. I used to, when I was a kid, think it was really cool, like the whole Cruella de Vil look, where you have like the cigarette case, like the sterling silver cigarette case, and then the like cigarette holder that's sterling silver, and then you put your cigarette on it, and you've got that whole thing, and you like tap it on your cigarette case, and then you light it. I used to be like, yeah, that's sexy. As you're like coughing and you like have phlegm and you're like, this is sexy. But I don't know. I thought it was just sexy. And then you have a martini glass in your hand, and I'm like, yeah, that says class. Nothing says class like cigarettes and alcohol, right? But for whatever reason, I always had a really high tolerance for alcohol, and I'm not sure why, because some people say it's genetic, others say it's not, and then some say it's a little bit of both. I probably agree with a little bit of both. Maybe it's genetic. I'm not really sure how alcoholism can be genetic, but I feel like if it's an environment you grow up around, you probably start drinking at a younger age, therefore your tolerance builds up. I don't know. But I definitely had a tolerance. I could drink a lot of fishermen under the table. People would hand me the keys wanting me to drive, and I'm like, you don't want me to drive? I've had just as much as you, but I didn't seem like it because I could handle it well. It was weird. And that's not a bragging thing. I'm not bragging about that. In fact, I think it's bad because exactly the opposite. Because the fact that I didn't seem like I was drunk, people didn't think I was drunk and wanted me to drive. Now, I'm going to say as a very responsible person, I did not do that. I may have stolen my mom's car when I was 15 without a license and drove around with my friend like a dumbass. But I did not drink and drive. So I've got that going for me. I did a lot of stupid shit, definitely. But at the same time, I don't feel like it was the same kind of stuff that kids do nowadays, but maybe it is. I feel like maybe we all say that. Maybe we all go, I didn't do that. And then maybe we all did. And we just didn't think we were that crazy. But I really don't feel like I was. I feel like I did some stupid things, but I was responsibly stupid. Is that a thing? Can you be responsibly dumb? I'm going to make it a thing. I'm going to call it a thing. I think I was responsibly dumb. Like, for example, when we drank illegally, underage drinking, we didn't drink and drive, and we usually stayed in one spot. You know, we did the whole I'm staying at so-and-so's house, or we would find a spot on the beach or find a spot somewhere secluded and stay there. So we weren't really drinking and driving a whole lot. At least me. I'll speak for me and my group. And I didn't stay out super late, although I have snuck out a couple of times, got caught. That was embarrassing. But again, it was sneaking out not to do anything bad. I lived in Gerhardt, this little town in between Seaside and Astoria, same place that I stole my mom's car and drove. It's a teeny little town of like 1,200 people. And I used to sneak out because I lived like 5 blocks from the beach. And I used to like to sneak out in the middle of the night on a nice night, on like a nice summer night or a nice fall night. And I used to love going down to the beach and just like staring up at the stars and hearing and smelling the ocean. I loved smelling and hearing the ocean. And I had a lot of crap when I was young and things that I kind of wanted to escape from. And so my parents had this little motorhome parked in their yard, and I used to sleep out there. And I decided that I was going to sneak out one day, again, not to do anything bad. I wasn't drinking. I wasn't doing drugs. I didn't do drugs. I wasn't doing anything bad. I just wanted to escape my parents and them fighting and being drunk, and I was over it. And so I went on a walk. And again, I lived like 5 blocks. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not making excuses. It's not a good thing, because if my sons snuck out in the middle of the night, this was like at 2 a.m, going down to the beach, I'd be scared to death. I wouldn't want to wake up and have my sons be gone and not know where they are. So I'm not condoning what I did, but it wasn't for any other reason than I just kind of wanted to escape them at the time. I had a point to this. I've lost it. Oh, so just the stuff that you do when you're younger and the tolerance of alcohol and stuff. I've never been one to want to get drunk. I don't get the point on getting drunk, because I'm like, why do I want to be hungover? I don't want to be hungover. I don't want to throw up. I don't want to feel like shit. Bonnie, no. No. Oh my God, sorry. My dog is, like I said, she had, a while ago, she had some teeth work done, and she is struggling with it. So yeah, I don't want to get drunk, but lately I've been wanting to have like a beer at night. I'm probably responsible in an annoying way. I'm responsible because I won't have any more than a beer. But that one beer, I'm going to nurse and enjoy and make it last. I'm not one for like pounding beers or doing shots. I don't get it, because my goal, like I said, is not to get drunk. I just want to get a little loose. Bonnie, leave it. Oh my gosh, she has cone head and she's trying to pull off the cone. Bonnie! And she's trying to pull off the cone, which I don't blame her, but... So, yeah, I am having this, in fact, here, un momento. Okay, so, I don't know why this popped in my head, but it just popped in my head. I'm trying to learn Russian, because I think it's beautiful, and I don't understand why people think it's an ugly... There are people that think that the Russian language and the German language is ugly, because it's that guttural, it's that back of your throat sound, and I love it. In fact, the languages that they consider romantic languages, like French and Spanish, nothing against Spanish, not at all. Nothing against speaking French, not at all. But those are supposed to be the romantic languages, and I just don't find them very pretty. I'm sorry. Again, I'm so sorry. I'm not saying anything against anyone from Spain or from Mexico that speaks Spanish at all. And I'm not against anyone from France at all. I'm just saying those are supposed to be the romantic, beautiful languages. And my accent in French, I took French in high school. And my poor teacher, Mr. Broderick, poor man, my French name was Christiane. And that poor man yelled at me all the time because I did not pay attention to a damn thing he said because I was so disinterested. And I don't know why I took French because, let's face it, in America, when the hell am I going to use it? I mean, I should have taken Spanish. That would have been a much wiser choice. And I should have continued to take Spanish because then I would be bilingual, and Spanish would be a very useful thing to know, especially nowadays. It would be very smart. But I did neither of those things. I took French and I failed at it miserably and have a terrible French and Spanish accent. And I remember how to cuss like a truck driver. I can cuss like a truck driver in French. So anybody listening, and I can say a couple of things. I still remember, keep in mind I graduated 30 years ago. 30 years ago, and I only took 2 years of French, but I remember a handful of things. And there was this little skit that we had to memorize, and I still remember it. And it's like, it is, hello, Francois, hello, Christian, quelle heure il est 2 heures? 2 heures? 2 heures? Oui, 2 heures. Pourquoi? J'ai rendez-vous avec Michel. Et Michel est ponctuel? Oui, très ponctuel et très impatient. Ooh la la! Au revoir, Francois. Au revoir, Christian. Yeah, I still remember that. That was from freshman year, y'all. So that's more than 30 years ago. That was from my freshman year of high school. And I know I butchered it. And I know that my accent is terrible. But basically, the whole thing was like, hey, what time are we meeting up at 2:10, you know, like that we're late for this meeting up. But anyway, I wanted to learn Russian because to me, I love their language. It's beautiful. I think it's beautiful. How do you not hear Russian and not just like want to? I'm just mesmerized. And so I'm trying to learn Russian, and I know how to say a handful of things. Oh, my Atlanta. Sorry, there's all kinds of noises now going off. But I know how to say a handful of things. I can say, ya tibla le bleu. Now I'm butchering it, but, and, which is I love you. So, ya tibia le bleu. Anybody from Russia listening, how bad did I butcher that? Did you even understand what I said in my terrible, terrible American accent? Did you even know I said I love you? Probably not. I probably butchered that. I'm sorry. I'm a disgrace. But I learned how to say a handful of things in Russian, and let me see. I learned also how to say, hang on, I got this. Crap, all of a sudden I forgot my sentence, but I used to know how to say, how are you? Fine, thanks. I'll think of it. My brain's all over the place right now because I'm looking at my dog who is staring off at I don't know what, because she's very high on drugs right now from having her surgery. So she's pretty high right now and looks it, unfortunately. Anyway, I am learning the Russian language, and I don't know why, because again, that's another language that I'm probably never going to use. I have met a handful of people from Russia, loved every single human. I used to work at Tongue Point Job Corps in Astoria, and they have people from 16 to 24 that are learning a trade, and they live on campus and they learn a trade. And there were actually some people from Russia, from Hungary, from Ethiopia, from different countries. And so I learned kind of a handful of things from each country, and it was awesome. And there was these two people there from Russia, and I got to know them. And then I've gone out when I was in Las Vegas. I met a group of people from Russia, and I kind of partied with them for a bit. And man, I don't know. I just, every Russian person I've met, I just want them to talk to me because I just think their language is beautiful. So, hey, anybody out there listening from Russia, love your language. It's just sounds, if anybody ever talks crap to you guys and says that and same with Germany. By the way, Germany, same with you. I love your guys' language. I think you guys sound amazing. And I just want you both to talk to me in your language all the time. Even if it's telling me what an annoying person I am, I want to hear it. I love it. Okay, let's see. So in German, the only thing that I know is how to say I love you and a handful of things too, which all of a sudden I'm blanking out on everything. And the minute that I push stop on here, I'll remember all of the things in Russian that I learned. And I actually have normally a really good accent, but not tonight, apparently. My cat is, because every single episode I have, one of my animals needs to interject and totally video bomb. All right, so on that note, I guess I will call it a day and say, hey, everybody out there that is listening to me, like I said, once or more than once, I appreciate it. And whatever you're doing in your neck of the woods, just know that I'm wishing you the best. I'm wishing you the best. I'm wishing you health and happiness. And thanks again for tuning in to episode 45 of the Ramblings of an Insomniac. I am Courtney Perry.